After 60 episodes, I think I can safely say that I was in a cult. And I always used to also question whether or not I was really abused as a child. But after listening to myself talk about it, and the more I think about it, I do realize that I was a victim of child abuse. And the child abuse led into being abused as an adult as well. And I think I've also come to realize that I was using the church, which was technically a cult, as a way of escaping the abuse that was ongoing in my own family. I guess I just never thought that I would be also abused in a church. It would be a whole nother level of abuse called spiritual abuse and emotional abuse and verbal abuse, but nonetheless, it was abusive. And as I mentioned in the last video, also kind of predatory. The aggressiveness of the church that I was a part of was very predatory in their evangelistic style, but also there were a lot of predators within our church. I'm still not sure why the church would allow a man to go pick up women from a county jail to take them to a women's home. Nothing about that seems safe. They should have been picked up by women because these women are in a vulnerable state. And truthfully, coming out of jail and going over to a women's home is something that I believe that a woman should have been in charge of doing. But in our church, they just always trusted the men over women anyways, which further allowed for more abuse and predatory behavior to take place. I've personally heard of several stories of women being taken advantage of, assaulted, and other things, but I'm just going to share my story today. A few years later, the same man that I'm talking about went to prison himself. My feelings are really mixed and torn about this guy to this day because in the overall scheme of things, he really, I think, wanted to help me out of his heart. But I also feel that he saw an opportunity to take advantage of a situation. The reason why my feelings are mixed is because at the end of everything, I'm going to tell the whole story, but at the end of the story, he ends up doing right by me, in my opinion. But that's why it's so hard for women to really pinpoint whether something is abusive or not, because there will be so much like care and help, and it's confusing because there's abuse mixed in. So I'm meeting this man for the first time, and he's offering to give me a ride to the women's home in the city where he lives instead, since the women's home supposedly was full and they couldn't take me. He says he knows this other lady that works in a different church and that she's a women's home director, and it's a similar church to the church that I was a part of, or that we were a part of. And I didn't really want to go to a different church, but like I said before, it was kind of like the only option. Clearly there wasn't a women's home at the church he was at, because if there were, they would have been the ones to pick the women up in the first place. I truly believe that he wanted to help, but I think, like, you know, his own attraction as a man kind of got in the way. So again, let me explain. He was from the same church as me overall. He was just in a different city than the church that I attended. So he lived on the church campus. He kind of was like someone that helped take care of the premises. So he took me back to the church, and they didn't really have living quarters per se, but they did have like rooms and offices and like roll-away bed type things going on, which is kind of weird if you think about it. It wasn't a house, it was like the church itself. and it was like an office in the church. So we go to the office in the church and we're having a chat, and he starts to ask me how I'm doing, how I came about, trying to get into the home and what was going on in my life. And I started to open up to him. He seemed very like empathetic and very kind and caring and nurturing, and was just really compassionate. And so it was really easy to talk to him. I didn't share anything about the gay thing or anything like that. I just talked about how I was trying to get my life back right with God. I was sharing with him how I realized that I thought I had backslidden, and I was doing everything I could to get back on track. At one point in time, he asked if I was hungry. He said he had some fruit, and somehow I ended up getting a banana, right? So I'm eating a banana just like a normal person, and then all of a sudden I see something change in this man's eyes, and I knew instantly exactly where his mind was going. And I was disgusted, and I just didn't want to eat the banana anymore at that point. I think I just hurried up, and then after that moment I realized, like, okay, this dude has weird thoughts in his brain. He had that look that he had that I knew so well right before I was gonna get sexually assaulted in the past. So I was afraid at that point, and I was just like, I need to figure out a way to tell him that I want to go to sleep now and be left alone. So then I was just like, you know what, I'm really tired. I think I just want to get some rest and head to bed. And he's like, okay. And then I was like, okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna go to bed. Thankfully, there was a lock on the door, so I would feel safe that he wasn't gonna come in on me. The next morning, I got up, and all I could think was, I have to hurry up and get out of here before something happens, before he does something to me, because I was just feeling things. So I get up and I go in the other room for coffee, and he comes out and he was like, well, good morning, and he's just being nice and whatever, right? And then he comes with a feather, and he walks over to me, and he comes behind me, and he like draws a feather across my neck, like in a provocative way. And I'm in the middle of washing my dishes, and I'm like repulsed, and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like, stop, you know what I mean? And then it's just like, he got like right up in my face, and I was like, so when am I gonna go to Pam's house? Like, when are we gonna contact her? When am I gonna go? And he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna arrange that. I started to get so uncomfortable, and I was like, I gotta get out of this place as soon as possible. Now, I know that sounds innocent, but I mean, really, it's not innocent at all. In that church, we believed that sex before marriage was a sin, and I really feel like this guy was trying to get me to have sex with him, or at least wanted to fool around in some way. And I was just like, this is wrong, number one. And number two, like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm a lesbian, like, ew. And I think I had to stay there like a couple of days because he couldn't supposedly get a hold of Pam. I don't even know if he was really trying. But finally he did, and he took me over to Pam's, and then I finally felt like, okay, thank God, I'm safe now. Honestly, I think the only reason he didn't attack me is because there was another man there. So he would have heard, because I would have screamed. But I don't know. Who knows what would have happened. I mean, it could have been worse. They both could have been on board, and they both could have attacked me. And a few years later, I think it was sexual assault is the reason why he went to prison. I think I just got lucky. And the fact that there was another man there, because if we were alone, I don't know. I kind of feel like something would have happened. So my advice is just never be alone with a man. You just never know what's going to happen. I'm out of time. Bye.